Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Beagle,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Present.
Councilmember Behrman,
Present.
Councilmember Gatchel. Councilmember Garland Fox. Here. Councilmember Sharp.
Present.
Councilmember Smiley.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. Changes or additions to the agenda as presented tonight. City Manager?
Yes, Your Honor, I have a walk-on report that I'd like to add as new business number 4, unless somebody has an objection to it, to discuss and possibly approve the assignment of the GFL contract to Priority Waste as a new hauler for our residential waste collection.
All right. Any disagree? All right, new business number 4. Any other changes? Assistant City Manager?
I have none, sir.
Any from the dais? All right, seeing none. We'll move on to approval of minutes. We've got 2 sets of minutes to approve tonight. The first is a special city council meeting of May 28th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Support.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the special city council meeting minutes of May 28th, 2024. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The second set of minutes to approve tonight are from the regular city council meeting of May 28th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the regular city council meeting minutes of May 28th, 2024. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Takes care of approval of minutes. No correspondence tonight, so we'll move on to the call to the public. I'll read those rules. They are as follows. The public shall address the council during the call to the public, which shall be included on the agenda immediately after correspondence, and again immediately after new business. The first call to the public immediately after correspondence shall be limited to agenda items only. A person shall not address the council in excess of 5 minutes unless the time is extended by a majority vote of the council present. Persons wishing to address the council shall identify themselves and their place of residence and shall state their reasoning for addressing the council, and all comments by the public shall be made directly to the council. Do we have anybody for the first call to the public? Seeing none, I'll close first call to the public. Move on to city managers' reports. We have 2 tonight. The first one is the fire monthly report from April 2024. Any questions? All right. The second one is the police monthly report from April 2024. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Resnick?
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Langmeyer, just one quick question. I know that the non-criminal complaints under the Part B crimes have more than doubled, or about doubled. Is there a particular category or something that was reclassified?
Nothing's been reclassified. After the last council meeting, I went back and I looked at those numbers pretty closely. Really what it's boiling down to is we've got a lot of very young guys that are staying very, very busy out there. They're stopping a lot more cars. They're doing a lot more extra patrols. You're seeing them out there. And I think I'm hearing from residents that they're seeing cars out there more and more, which is what we want. So these young guys they're doing a lot more than I thought they'd do.
So it's good news.
So it's great news. It's great news. They're out there busy. I'm told constantly, especially by the Midnight's bosses, they can't get them to come inside. They stay out there the entire 12 hours. That's a good thing.
Thank you.
So,
Nice.
Yeah, I can vouch for that on a couple of ride-arounds I've done. Those guys, they're out there, so.
yeah, it's a good thing. It's fun to watch.
Yep. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the consent agenda and added to the regular agenda at the end of unfinished new business. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
I got a motion and support to approve the consent agenda as presented tonight. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have no unfinished business tonight, so which moves us on to new business number 1. Is a recommendation to confirm the mayor's reappointments of Lori Dorchek to the Cemetery Board with a term to expire June 30th, 2029. Mark Garmo and Russell Meredith to the Downtown Development Authority with terms to expire June 30th, 2028. Chandra Okamura and Dan Williams to the Parks and Rec Commission with terms to expire June 30th, 2027. Ray Cousineau, William Day, and Cheryl Tacey to the Planning Commission with terms to expire June 30th, 2027. Judith Solinsky and Jean Korleski to the Senior Citizens Commission with terms to expire June 30th, 2027. Jeffrey Kaplan, Ray Kuzno, James Hutchins, and Michael Shraka to the Zoning Board of Appeals with terms to expire June 30th, 2027, and appoint Darby Hoppenstedt to the Downtown Development Authority with a term to expire June 30th, 2027. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. This is just routine business, pretty much. These are all people who are on commission or board and have offered to volunteer their services for another term, which we really appreciate. And in the audience tonight, I have Russ Meredith, whose term is being renewed on the DDA, and appointment of to the DDA to Darby Hoppenstedt. If you guys want to come up and introduce yourself. Russ doesn't need to introduce himself, but if you guys want to come up and introduce yourself and give us a little information? Thanks.
Hi, good evening. I'm Darby Hoppenstedt. I'm an 8-year resident of Wixom, and I live here with my husband and 2 children who are middle school and now moving into high school at Walled Lake Western. So we love this community, and I'm a public educator by trade, a school administrator, and in service to the community is something that I deeply value, and I'm very excited and grateful to be able to be here and to be able to serve this community. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Russell, you can come up and say something if you want.
Or scoring seven, no. No, I just appreciate the opportunity to be reappointed and try and see to fruition some of the projects we got going, the Renton project and some of the stuff we're working on that I think will hopefully make Wixom even a better place to live, which I think it already is a pretty cool place. So, thank you very much, Mayor.
Hey,
Thank you to the City Council.
thank you for re-upping. All right. So seeing that, I have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to confirm the mayor's reappointments of Lori Dorchek to the Cemetery Board with a term to expire June 30th, 2029, Mark Garmo and Russell Meredith to the Downtown Development Authority with terms to expire June 30th, 2028, Chandra Okumra and Dan Williams to the Parks and Rec Commission with terms to expire June 30th, 2027, Ray Kuzno, William Day, and Cheryl Tacey to the Planning Commission with terms to expire June 30th, 2027, Judith Solinsky and Jean Korleski to the Senior Citizen Commission with terms to expire June 30th, 2027. Jeffrey Kaplan, Ray Kuzno, James Hutchins, and Michael Shraka to the Zoning Board of Appeals with terms to expire June 30th, 2027. And appoint Darby Hoppenstedt to the Downtown Development Authority with a term to expire June 30th, 2027. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and we'll have some more appointments coming up at the next meeting. Moving on to new business number 2 is a recommendation to authorize participation in the 2024 Tri-Party Program for preliminary engineering of 12 Mile Road from Beck Road to Novi Road. Approve the associated budget amendment and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Support.
Do you want to take this since Tim's not here? Or Steve?
I think Mr. Brown can,
All right.
Yeah, so the general idea here is participation in the Tri-Party Program for a project that's largely going to take place in the city of Novi, widening of 12 Mile Road, east of Beck Road. There is a small section of the project that is in the city of Wixom. The authorization here is for $2,571,000 worth of design engineering costs, and the Wixom portion of that is $114,376. Which is in Exhibit A of the attached cost participation agreement. And we've talked here about the fact that it was budgeted to happen in later years, and it's been moved up in priority. And because of that, we're going to have a budget amendment, which was detailed in your council report, to move the money to make that a reality in this upcoming fiscal year of 24-25, the one we're currently going to be wrapping up starting in July and then wrapping up in June 30th of 2025. So there is a budget adjustment that's going to be necessary as a result of that moving up, and we're asking for approval of participation as well as the associated budget amendment that's detailed in the report.
Any questions? Councilmember Behrman.
So this is the section of 12 Mile that I guess I always envisioned was all Novi, but part of it is ours.
Yeah, a small section of it.
What would happen if we did not participate?
It would probably create a problem on the Tri-Party program in terms of completing the project, that would be something I would have to see what.
I was just curious
come from
more,
that.
I mean, I don't necessarily mind
Right.
doing it, I mean, we didn't participate in any of the bidding or any of this, this is all done by the county, correct? It's a
Correct.
It's a county road,
Right.
and we already assumed ownership of the other section of 12 Mile to take that problem away from the county. It just seems interesting,
Yeah.
best way to describe it.
And keep in mind, this is engineering, so the construction, which will come later, is going to be substantially more. I do understand that there's a possibility that there won't be a real funding issue on that front, and there might not be even a funding request of us at that point, but we'll see how that plays out in the future.
So we have no idea exactly what the cost.
Yeah, this is
will
for the
eventually-
design engineering to figure out the projected cost and all those sort of things.
And this is because they want to make it like a boulevard through there?
Yeah, it's something that Novi's been pursuing on their front for years.
I would say, if we were considering this, especially if this is on the design side, if we were to decline doing this, the outcome could likely be that they would just stop the project at the Wixom border. So that would just leave the kind of curve in the stretch, what's that, couple hundred feet, that would be different and done, not in conjunction with the rest of the project. I think that's why they're doing this kind of on the front side, so that, hey, if we don't want to participate, they just won't include that portion in the overall project that they do for the rest of 12 Mile. So that is sort of the benefit from our perspective, is that we can participate in a larger project, that the whole road will be improved, even though only a small section will be there, but it'll also be cohesive, kind of done together.
It kind of avoids the problem that we're experiencing with Loon Lake Road right now, that having consistency all the way through, including into Wixom.
That's what I was thinking of.
That's it, exactly. Kind of, thinking, I mean, it'd be kind of like doing to the county what they're doing to us.
Correct, if we were to make that move, I agree. Yeah, that would be very similar.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gutschall?
Thank you. Along similar lines, because there isn't a lot of information in here other than, like Councilmember Behrman kind of pointed out, pay us for a road that isn't yours. Do we know, like, is this in-house county engineering that's going to cost $2.5 million? That is, it's a lot for engineering. I understand they want to widen it, and sections do need to get widened. I would say, from back to the railroad track, just past the railroad tracks, then it opens up to 2 lanes in either direction with a boulevard.
Right.
But like $2.5 million is a lot, and that's just for engineering. I'm probably gonna be sick if we see the construction costs, so it is just an odd bit that we helped them out by taking over the other stretch of 12 Mile. Now we're paying for a road that isn't ours to maintain, so I guess I'm curious how all that came to be.
Well, we'd be contributing only, I guess, the portion that is in the city. But
Yeah.
duly noted, is not a city road.
Still gonna be
Right.
a lot.
Hmm?
I'll make it worse and remind you there'll be construction engineering too.
Yeah, I guess I would like more information on what the game plan is overall on this, because I understand this is a small portion of the overall project at $114,000 for us, but that's 1 foot in the door, because then we have the construction engineering, then we have the actual construction. They haven't provided us any details on what the scope of the work is and engineering or any, at least that's not in our packet. And that's a bit frightening to see $2.5 million for design engineering. That's an astronomical amount of money. So I personally would be in favor of tabling to get more info, but I don't know how everyone else feels. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick?
Thank you, Mayor. First off, $2.5 million is not a lot for engineering that section. There is a railroad track, and there's the headwaters of the Rouge River that come in there, so there's quite a lot to do in the design engineering phase. This road, having traveled it for a major part of my career, is important to the city of Wixom because it's the east-west egress to M5 as well as to a destination that most of us go to, and that is the mall, 12 Oaks, right? Plus a lot of our doctors and dentist appointments. So the project itself has been talked about for decades. I'm glad that we're seeing it done, and the tri-party program was one method to get these projects done a little bit quicker by having each community share in it. So I'm in favor of it. I'd rather see it just go forward.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Councilmember Behrman?
Signing on to the engineering now doesn't mean that if they come to us down the road and say our part is $1 million, we can say no, right?
Yes. Correct.
We're not stuck contributing in the future. But also, signing on to the engineering could result in at least it finishing up at Beck Road looking nice and brand new versus, as you said, ending right before the bend.
All right. Seeing no more discussion, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to authorize participation in 2024 tri-party program for the preliminary engineering of 12-mile road from Beck Road to Novi Road. Approve the associated budget amendment and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Councilmember Grunland Fox.
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Yes.
Mayor Beagle.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Aye.
Councilmember Behrman.
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no. Oh,
Motion-
Councilmember Gotcha.
Motion
Yes,
carries.
no.
Thank you. Moving on to new business number 3 is a recommendation to award a bid to Milford Salvage and Iron and Metal Company Incorporated of Milford, Michigan for the building demolition, removal, and site restoration of the Renton redevelopment area properties located at 117, 119, 121, and 125, and 127 North Wixom Road for an amount not to exceed $69,660 and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. Motion?
Move.
Support.
Assistant City Manager Benson.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an item that we've discussed a little bit before, sort of the next steps for the Renton redevelopment area as we continue to pursue opportunities to partner with a developer and sort of redevelop that whole area. Our city administration released a request for proposals for demolition services that ultimately ended up including some minor, well, not generally minor asbestos and hazardous materials abatement that will also be involved with these commercial structures. So those two costs were totaled up, and we received 8 bids. One was considered incomplete. For those services, those bids are included in the agenda item that's attached. Milford Salvage was the low bidder. The city has worked with them before. We've had success with them, and therefore we feel comfortable moving forward with them as the low bidder for the demolition of these structures. I did want to make the one note that in the motion I included all of the addresses. Technically it is 2 tax parcels, but there's 5 individual addresses, as we found out during the utility shutoffs and going through that whole process. So I wanted to make sure that I included all the addresses just for sort of to make sure it's consistent in that sense. If there are any additional questions on what this would look like or sort of next steps after that, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions? Deputy Mayor Resnick?
Thank you. Assistant City Manager Benson, in terms of the water and the sewer portions of the properties, then will those be capped?
Yes.
For potential use at some point?
Yes. So the current water and sewer services would be disconnected, but the service would still be available at the street. Any new development they would need to bring in larger and kind of newer lines anyways.
Okay.
But since you mentioned that, the other thing is there is an existing well that will need to be capped or properly disposed of. I don't think it was being used, but it still existed prior to when those buildings have their own wells prior to city water.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Councilmember Sharp?
Thank you, Mayor. More of a statement and maybe a little bit of a question, because you and I have already talked about it, Assistant City Manager Benson. First of all, if anybody's been past Milford Salvage facility on Buno Road, you know that none of this money's going into overhead. So they're nice and close to the property, and if there's one thing they know, it's junk. So they should be good at it. And I'm sure they're wonderful people. But I have a concern about traffic, and I communicated this to Assistant City Manager Benson. We already have tons of cars, trucks especially, flying down Charms Road, and they're not going to DPW, as I found out today, because I was coming out of the DPW, and these trucks are just hauling down. In case Chief Langmeyer needs to know where to look for speeding trucks, it's Charms Road. I know you know that because we've talked about that before. But do we have a kind of a time frame on when they're going to be done so we can minimize the amount of traffic? And I understand they're not really going to be going back to their facility to dump the offal, the junk. They're going to go somewhere else, so that's good. But any kind of feel on time frame for when this can be completed to minimize the traffic interference?
Yes. So I did actually get additional information since your email as well. They tell me that once the asbestos abatement is completed, they have to be done in separate phases. They can't happen at the exact same time. So in terms of process, after, assuming City Council were to approve this tonight, we'll get the agreement all worked out, signed, and sort of start prepping the site in terms of fencing and kind of getting things ready. Then the asbestos abatement would happen. Once that's signed off and clear, I believe there's a 10-day window that the state requires to be able to kind of come inspect that if they're so inclined. Then after that, once it's all cleared to be demolished, Milford Salvage has told me it would take about 2 weeks. So it would be a relatively quick turnaround to get the buildings down. As mentioned previously, the debris would not be taken back to their site on Buno Road. It would be taken to a qualified landfill. So I don't anticipate much local traffic from the trucks and kind of demolition equipment. And that's certainly a further conversation we can have in terms of them getting to the site from Buno Road. But I anticipate that would only be, 1 or 2 trips during the day, and maybe 1 or 2 trips at the end of the day to move things off site if they're not keeping kind of equipment on site. So big picture, we believe, I think there could be some time frame pieces specifically with the state and the asbestos abatement that may make it take longer, but there's no reason. We're all fully confident this can be completed this summer. Hopefully
weeks,
before August.
months we're talking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilmember Behrman?
This is just the building, so not the parking lot? The parking lot will remain?
No, the parking lot will be removed as well as part of this, as well as the brick pavers along the front of those buildings. They've kind of gotten into disrepair over the years, and as opposed to trying to remediate those bricks, what we'll plan to do is actually come back and something we can work with the DDA on, installing a new sidewalk at the appropriate distance from center line of Wixom Road. The city's ordinances call that all structures should be set back no less than 60 feet from center line. The current sidewalk is not that distance. Those buildings predate that ordinance requirement. So in one way, shape, or form, these sidewalks we're going to need to come out, along with the paving that won't be necessary for a future project. We do plan on keeping the curb cut, though. There's some existing kind of curbing there, mainly because it's a benefit to getting in and out of the site, and why get rid of a curb cut when you don't know how it's all going to play out yet. But we do anticipate the rest of the pavement would come out as well.
And just grass going back in, there's not
Correct.
going to be a gravel parking lot or anything like that at this time?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Councilmember Gutschel?
Thank you. Do we know, or have we asked, I know with certain like demolition in higher density areas, they'll like spray water as they're demolishing to try and keep dust down from other businesses and residents. Do we know if they intend to do that while they're doing this?
That was included in our request for proposals, so it is our understanding, they know that they're to do that. Yes, it's our expectation they will do that.
Okay.
Shouldn't be an issue.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to award a bid to Melford Salvage Iron and Metal Company Incorporated of Milford, Michigan for the building demolition and removal and site restoration of the Renton redevelopment area properties located at 117, 119, 121, 125, and 127 North Wixom Road for amount not to exceed $69,660 and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And that moves us on to new business number 4, and that's a recommendation to adopt the resolution authorizing the assignment of the residential waste collection services agreement with GFL Environmental USA Incorporated to Priority Waste LLC, and any action required of the city manager to finalize the assignment, subject to the requirements of the resolution. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
City Manager Brown?
Yeah, so subsequent to the preparation of this week's packet, we had received a letter from GFL indicating that they were ready to detail plans for what we've heard about for some time due to press coverage and other sources, which was that GFL is planning to offload, if you will, their residential waste collection services by way of an assignment of the contract or agreement to Priority Waste LLC. We've heard about this for some time. We've had a lot of feedback with GFL as well as with Priority, as well as with the Resource Recovery and Recycling Authority of Southwest Oakland County, or ROSOC as we like to call it. Mike Sapo, the director there, has been in touch with the city on this as well, keeping us informed about the developments and then some of the details. So the plan for this is that by June 30th, there'll be an assignment and transfer of service responsibility from GFL to Priority. Consistent with that, there's some terms of the contract that allow for that kind of an assignment to take place, subject to the consent of the mayor and council for the city of Wixom as the contracting party. So we're asking for you to take action on the potential consent to assign the contract from GFL to Priority. That's going to involve the details that are provided in the resolution, which came from our city attorney, Rosati Schultz, Jopik, and Amsbuehler. Their attorney, Joe Ellen, shortly wrote us a letter that was provided to you as well that details what's being asked of the council here, outlining what you could do, and then providing the base resolution which we've adopted or adapted to the city's practices in terms of how we present those kind of resolutions. I did make one change to what was presented to me from the city attorney. They had initially had the mayor listed as the signing authorization with the clerk as well. And since I was named as the responsible party for everything else, I thought it would be cleaner to name me as the signing signing authority there for the city. And it's not a contract per se; it's just a letter of acknowledgement that we've seen their letter and we are okay with it and ready to proceed. So that was the only change that was made to the resolution, to my knowledge, and we're asking for your action to authorize and consent to the assignment of that agreement. And then also the resolution contains a variety of requirements that will be necessary to be met by the two parties, GFL and Priority, in order for this to take place. So in other words, if either of the parties doesn't do something that's required in the resolution, the city would be not proceeding with the consent to the assignment. So it provides some protections to us to make sure that the I's are dotted and T's are crossed to our satisfaction through the attorney's office, and would allow us to proceed. The other thing that I'll say, ROSOC, the director, Mike Sapo, there has had very good things to say about Priority Waste and their reputation in the business. And we also have a meeting set up with them in an administrative building this week on Thursday with representatives from the communities that are affected, including Wixom, myself, will be present at that meeting. So we'll look for some further detail there, but we anticipate that everything that's been made clear to us is that they're going to proceed with the contract as is, billing will remain the same, and the service will be maintained in a similar fashion, hopefully with improvements through Priority Waste.
I was going to say hopefully with improvements, not the same, but.
They suggest that that's what they are gunning for, if you will, and expect to provide for the city. So
And we haven't had any talks with Priority yet, so I mean, like, it's kind of useful. Like, I'd like to do like we did when GFL came through and just put stickers on our bins instead of having us get all new bins and
Right.
things like that. So-
that's the kind of thing that we'll discuss at this upcoming meeting, I'm expecting.
Okay, very good. Any questions, discussions? Deputy Mayor Resnick?
Thank you. City Manager Brown?
Yes.
One of the things I wanted to ask was the end date for the current contract with GFL. What was that?
I don't recall. Do you have that in front of you, potentially?
5-year contract, right?
I thought, yeah,
Yeah, it's not been very long that GFL's had the contract, so I imagine we have.
Probably 4 left on it, maybe 2028.
I don't have that in front of me. I'd have to get back to you on that. I don't think.
Well, while you're looking at the second question, could we have a representative from Priority come in then after that to council? Just
I expect they will.
some resident, people are emotional about their garbage.
Right.
People may want to come, members of the public, just to ask a couple questions of will our services remain the same and those sorts of things.
Right. Likewise, I'd expect that to be something that will be discussed at this upcoming meeting on Thursday and likely followed through on. I think it would make perfect sense for the company to have representatives in front of all the various community representative bodies that are going to be involved here. And I expect that they will make a visit to the city of Wixom to introduce themselves. I'll find out the timing on Thursday.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nick, because I'd hate for Priority not to continue with our food waste program after we poo-pooed it and never did everything about it.
Yeah, that's
and
an
then
excellent point. That's kind of an add-on to the contract and an agreement there, and I expect that will be something that needs to be discussed as well to assure us that that's what they intend to do.
Okay, very good. Councilmember Grillen Fox?
Thank you. That was one of the questions I had as well.
Right.
And then, as well as the receptacle machine, or if we were gonna get new cans, which I would be opposed to, just because of the expense.
Right.
Or the stickers. And then, I believe when GFL took over, they had somebody that was assigned to us.
Yes.
If residents had questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And I expect that to be the same as well.
just so it doesn't fall on DPW.
Yes, exactly, or the city manager's office potentially,
Or the-
right? Right.
Okay.
I'm in favor of that as well, and that's what I expect to be the case.
Great, thank you.
We'll hand that portion over to the assistant city manager.
There they go.
Any other questions, discussion? Seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to adopt the resolution authorizing the assignment of residential waste collection services agreement with GFL Environmental USA, Inc. to Priority Waste LLC, and any action required of the city manager to finalize the assignment, subject to the requirements of the resolution. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, and that concludes the business portion of our meeting tonight. Next item up is the second call to the public. I will not read the rules for the call to the public, with the exception of you can speak whatever is on your mind at this call to the public. Do we have anybody for the second call to the public? Seeing none, I'm going to close the call to the public to move on to city manager's comments. City Manager Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor. So a couple of things. The national opioid settlement situation continues to require update. There's been another settlement with Kroger this time, and consistent with prior city council authorization this last time, because we knew this was going to continue to be a situation where more of these would come up, and the dollar amounts are pretty, frankly, trivial from the city standpoint. So we had asked for, and council provided approval to just allow me to act on these, subject to a city attorney review. The city attorney did review the terms of that Kroger settlement and did state that they had no issues with it and recommended that we proceed. So there's going to be some additional communications coming through the settlement office, if you will, that will detail what we have to do to participate, and I will take the necessary steps to get the city opted into that settlement. Also, an update on prior settlements. There were 6 separate payments that we were notified are going to take place under settlements that we've previously agreed to be involved with. Those settlements, just to give you an idea of what I mentioned being largely trivial, those 6 payments totaled just under $12,900 for those 6 settlements. And we do have plans through the police department as to how we're going to use that. We're interacting and coordinating with Families Against Narcotics to design and implement programs that were basically, there'll be different features of it. One of the first features that we're definitely talking about is outreach with representatives of Families Against Narcotics, as well as a police department police officer that's been identified to be kind of a specialist on this. That person would go out with FAN and contact people that have had interactions related to opioid usage and provide them information about various options for counseling and treatment and rehabilitation and things of that nature that will be covered and then encouraged with those people that we've had those interactions with in an attempt to get them into treatment, if you will. So that's the kind of thing that we'll be implementing with this settlement money, subject to the financial guidelines that we have through these settlements. So that's the first item. The second item, the police department has had a random audit by the Michigan Commission of Law Enforcement Standards, or MCOLS, that was conducted on June 3rd and passed solidly. They looked at our domestic violence, personal protection order, and interview and interrogation room policies. Everything was in compliance with the laws and their guidelines, and then also they reviewed our background investigations, hiring records, and training records, and all of those were consistent with MCOL standards as well, so congratulations to the PD. If you have any questions, I'm definitely going to defer to Police Chief Phil Langmeyer, so on that item. If there's any questions on those things, I'll do my best to answer or defer to Phil, and otherwise, we also have the dates that are provided on the dates to remember for the variety of things that are going on in the city for residents to have the information and knowledge of.
Assistant City Manager Benson.
Two things. One, thank you, Steve, for giving me enough time. The current GFL contract is a 5-year contract approved in 2022, so it expires June 30th, 2027. Second thing, and more important and more excitingly, I wanted to give a shout out to the City of Wixom and the Wixom DDA for their performance at the Main Street Awards last week. It was the same night as the city's Volunteer and Employee Appreciation Picnic, and the DDA specifically picked up 2 awards. One, Business Innovations and Entrepreneurship Award for Drafting Table Brewing Company. That was a big award. And then also our own Laura Cloutier won the Main Street Leader Award for her service to downtown Wixom and as a representative for downtowns within Oakland County. So I just wanted to make sure I shouted that out. Those were kind of very exciting things for us to win with a lot of competition. And not to put you on the spot, Laura, but if you'd like to talk about the main event, or how we did. You don't have to, but,
Wait. Bring your reward. Bring your award too.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. But now my notes are half.
So these are what the awards look like. Pawabak tile, little placard. The main event's held yearly by Main Street Oakland County, highlighting the 28 Main Street communities and their accomplishments for the year. There were 11 awards that were given out. Like Drew mentioned, we won 2. We submitted for 5, and we won 2. We were one of 3 communities to win 2 awards out of the 28 communities. And I believe 15 communities submitted for awards, if my memory serves me right. So it was a great night. Deputy Mayor Resnick was there, Aaron was there, our chair, vice chair, Russ and Roberta, my husband, some residents from the city. There was a contingent of 15 of us from the city of Wixom. So we had a great night.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
And that is all I have.
Thank you. Council comments. Councilmember Gaccio.
Thank you. I wanted to thank everyone that helped plan and set up the volunteer picnic last week. It's always a good kind of kickoff to not quite summer yet, I guess we can say. So I enjoyed that. I also wanted to touch on something, I've kind of brought it up in the past as well, but in the last few weeks I've seen 2 people nearly get hit crossing Beck Road on the trailway. One at, call it late dusk. It was pretty dark out already, and that person was already wearing black as well and didn't have any lights on their bike and didn't press the light and just came flying out into traffic and almost got hit. And then yesterday at the curve, so Commerce Township, not technically us, but at the curve there a little bit west of Beck Road, watched someone nearly lock up their car brakes to stop for somebody that had pulled up, and the person behind them almost rear-ended them, and then he proceeded to hang out his window from there until the red light at Beck and Maple, and I was worried he was going to get out of his car because he was hanging out his window screaming at the person in front of him that came to a very abrupt stop. And then today, watched a guy just nearly get hit by vehicles in both directions crossing Beck Road. Again, didn't even look up, didn't press a button, didn't stop, didn't look up, and it has become seriously dangerous. I have kind of said before, it might be time to look at taking the lights down altogether so people aren't mistaking what they mean. or we need to have, I think, more officers sit there and start writing tickets to everybody. Everybody that doesn't use the crossing correctly as a trailway user, and everyone that doesn't drive correctly and decides they need to stop because someone is there. Whatever education the Trailway Council has been doing has been entirely inadequate at this point. Just literally seen in the last 3 or 4 weeks, those incidents, it's between road rage and users almost getting hit. It is a miracle nothing too serious has happened so far, but I think we need to get a handle on it, because what was kind of casual, everyone learning what to do, I think now watching these bike users not even look up as they cross the road, that casualness has migrated into a territory of I'm just going to do what I want, and that's going to get very dangerous. So I think we do need to take a lot of action on that very quickly before something bad happens. I think it's a matter of time before somebody gets hit and killed, and then it's not even the person that gets hit and killed, they've ruined someone else's life by putting that on them, by being an idiot as well. So I think we need to take care of that very, very quickly. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Behrman.
Thank you. I guess the only thing I'll say with that, with the following the previous comments, is I see a lot of people on Wixom Road come, hit the button, and then all the cars stop before the light even turns. They go, and then by the time the light's actually flashing red, there's no one there. So all it's doing is stopping traffic because no one's following the directions. So I mean, maybe education, maybe some kind of gate system, maybe changing the lights. I don't know. It's not working. I agree. But what I was going to bring up tonight is the crosswalks. None of them are marked in the city anymore. Since that sinkhole happened there, they never came back to fix that. I think the fact that that's not even marked is a problem. But, you know, I was coming down Maple Road today, and I saw that the city just recently restriped Maple Road. But none of the crosswalks and all the subdivisions, none of the crosswalks crossing the street have been done since the street was repaved going on 5 years ago. And I think, you know, paying attention and getting the crosswalks updated would also help, you know, highlight the crossings. Positive things, our police department has, I've noticed our police department has been out working Maple Road a lot more. I saw them on West Road today pulling over one of the Dan's excavating trucks. Thank goodness, pulled them all over. All the semi-trucks that have been driving through the city lately on the roads that are new, they shouldn't be driving on. I'm a big fan if we just keep pulling them over until they stay off our streets so we can keep our streets maintained. And then lastly, the flowers downtown really look good this year. I mean, substantial. It's like they actually planted them before they planted them, unlike maybe another year. So they look good. So whatever they did differently this year, I'm impressed.
Councilmember Garland Fox.
So question about those, the markings for the roads, for the pedestrians. That would be on the contractor, correct? I mean, they
Yeah, it
would
should
have-
be, and I agree, it's, that for sure on the Michigan Airline Trail, that's been a substantial period of time that needs to be taken care of, and I'll follow up with Tim on that, I wrote a note on it already. And the other points are well taken as well. When we have road repairs, those things should have been handled as well, and we'll find out if it's our responsibility, their responsibility, and get somebody involved to take action on
I
those.
would think it would be them to have.
I think so too.
Complete that.
Whoever started the project would be responsible, so if it's a local road project, it might be on us, but those other ones would be road commission, I would guess.
Yeah.
So we'll talk with somebody and make sure we bring that to their attention and see what we can find out from when that can get handled.
Thank you. And then I would like to thank the residents that were appointed. Darby, thank you, and Russ, reappointed. We couldn't do all the great things we do without great people like you to step forward and help us out. So thank you. That's all I got.
Councilmember Sharp.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I wanted to thank our volunteers on boards and commissions, and especially Mr. Meredith and Ms. Hoppenstedt for sticking with us tonight and seeing what happens to help support the work that you all are doing too. We care and we want to be successful in all the boards and commissions in Wixom. Wanted to thank DPW. The benches are now installed at the columbarium. The 2 budgeted benches, but we need 2 more at least. They're a little petite. So maybe we can add to that, but I'll send a note to Mr. Monahan, the cemetery board president. I think he's still the president, isn't he, Tom? Deputy Mayor? Co-chair, yeah. What did I say, president? Yeah, co-chair. And I did want to comment on the flowers as well. They do look good. I'm still not sure which lampposts get flowers and which don't. It seems a little disjointed sometimes, but the pots themselves look good. And I've actually seen people from the company 3 times on different days. Right. I don't recall ever seeing them before, so they're definitely in town. So that's a good thing. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Councilmember Smiley.
Thank you, Mayor Beagle. A few different little things here. The volunteer picnic was very nice. It was always fun to see the concert series start. I just wanted to thank all the volunteers and employees again for all that they do, especially, but not limited to our new appointments tonight. Russ, Darby, thank you. I hadn't heard about this, this award that we got. So great job, Ms. Cloutier, on the leadership award and for the drafting table. What was their award for?
Business innovation and entrepreneurship.
Oh, okay, awesome. Let's see what else here. Just a little more of a somber note. Officer Evans's father, as well as library director Andrea Dickinson's father, has passed away recently. So our condolences to them and their families. That's all. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you, Mayor. Also want to say thank you to all of our volunteers in the various boards and commissions. It's a lot of work, I know, and Darby, it'll be very, very gratifying once you get involved with it. It's really, really gratifying. I also attended the Oakland County Main Street event on Thursday in Rochester, together with our DDA members and their families and several Wixom business owners. And I won't repeat everything that Laura said, but congratulations, Laura. That was really nice. One thing that I wanted to mention was Wixom stood up against much larger and long-established downtown communities, such as Farmington and Ferndale and those of the like. And it's great to see how far we've come in being recognized as a young and growing community in our downtown area. I ran into Brett and former Deputy Executive of the County, Matt Gibb, and we were talking about 15 years ago when Mayor Beagle and I attended some of the very first Main Street and redevelopment-ready communities seminars, right? Yeah. And how far that's come along and seeing what's happening in these 28 communities here in southeastern Michigan. So it was a great event, and can't wait to see what the next few years bring. I also participated in the June 1st Michigan Airline Trail organized bicycle ride from downtown Wixom to Sylvan Lake along the 3 interconnected trail systems. I was greatly disappointed when I saw that the only stretch of unmowed grass and overgrown weeds alongside the path was the section between Wixom and Beck Roads in Wixom. All the other sections of the trail, and this is almost all the way to the Pontiac, including through Commerce Township, Walled Lake, West Bloomfield Township, Keiko Harbor, Sylvan Lake, were nicely mowed. June 1 was National Trails Day, and so there was a lot of activity on all of these trails, and we were the only one that had I'd say the black mark on our record there. It was noticed by many riders, walkers, and skaters that day. I got my ear bent by a number of people as to how come we don't mow it. I myself, in that stretch, had to move over because of the traffic and was getting whipped in my shins by all the overgrown weeds on the trail. I know it got done today, but again, a little bit too late. We had budgeted for this extra resource for the DDA, and we thought we'd be getting more than twice a year mowings on that trail. I think we need to revisit that and understand what the problem is. It is resource issue, is it a time issue? But something's not happening, definitely. We need to get to a reasonable mowing frequency in that area, particularly May through September. Also today, we saw yet another accident whereby a vehicle crashed and was laying on the Michigan Airline Trail west of Old Wixom Road. Fortunately, nobody was injured or killed. No pedestrians were involved. But how many more of these events are going to happen before we get Oakland County Road Commission to take a serious look at the speed limit on the stretch of Pontiac Trail west of Old Wixom Road? I know I sound like a broken record, but we've talked about 25 miles an hour, at least to the point where the Corex property line is and the trail heads north back into the woods. I'd like to see us get some action on that quickly. We were fortunate nobody was injured today, and it was laying right on the trail. Had there been children and strollers or pedestrians or bikers, they would have been crushed. I think it was a gravel hauler too, wasn't it, Chief Langmeyer? No? What was it, a trailer? Tractor trailer? Okay. So that, that's pretty heavy. School's out also. Let's put the phones down, everybody. Informal poll, just going along Wixom Road. I would say at least half of the people in the evening rush hour are staring down. There was 2 hours ago, there was a minor fender bender on North Wixom Road, right? I mean, it was obvious from the looks of it that whoever was behind the car in front of them was not paying attention. And a lot of car parts in the middle of the road in rush hour today. So put the phones down, school's out, a lot more children and pedestrians on the trails. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. And I want to congratulate DDA Director Laura Cloutier and Drafting Table on their awards that they won at the Main Street Award Ceremony. Next year, try to have it not on the volunteer lunch. Okay. And thank you to everybody who was reappointed tonight, stepping up, and thank you to all our volunteers. It is time consuming, and the job that you do for the city is great, and the work that comes out of these committees is outstanding, and we wouldn't have the community that we have without all these boards and commissions. And it was also fun to be at the volunteer luncheon we had last Thursday. It was good to see everybody, and we had a really good crowd and a good band for the first night of the concert series, so I'm looking forward to those. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Good night, everybody. Thank you.